Corporate Director of Marketing Communications here at MDA. And also joining me on this call is Stephanie Hilwack, Manager of Social Media, and Kelly Park, Manager of Public Relations, and Catherine Helzinka, DE Program Support Coordinator. Thanks so much for joining us. We're excited to be with you today. Today's topic is promoting your gala, and we will be discussing the keys to event promotion, including media relations, social media, email communications, and much, much more. Today's presentation is a WebEx where all staff are muted automatically. If you have a question that you'd like to ask, we encourage you to type it into the chat window at any time, and we will answer the questions in an FAQ sheet if we don't have time to answer them during today's call. We will send out that FAQ sheet along with this PowerPoint when the WebEx is completed. We are recording the WebEx today so that you will be able to go back and review it, share it with any other members of your team, and we hope it's a useful and relevant resource for you all in your events. The WebEx will also be posted on the Distinguished Events Resource Center under Gala Trainings by the end of the week. As I mentioned, today's WebEx includes an overview of event promotions, why it's important, key points to success, the roles of media relations, and how they can help you be as successful as possible with your events and all of the stakeholders that are involved in your events. The benefits of getting social about your event, email communications, tips and reminders, and an overview of all of the resources that are available and what's to come. Promoting your event is so important to your event for many reasons. It offers so many opportunities for generating goodwill and building brand awareness in your community, allows you a special way to build meaningful relationships with community and business leaders, provides your corporate partners a meaningful way to get involved and showcase their own goodwill and build brand awareness while gaining customer and community support, and raises money to support our very important mission. These events provide a unique opportunity for these influencers to interact with the MDA brand and mission, get a sense of our focus, perspective, and personality. As we know, events must be memorable to make an impact, and our desired impact is to create a lasting, powerful, and positive impression of MDA to enhance engagement opportunities and efforts going forward. When thinking and planning your event promotions, it's important for you to think about all the different audiences you're trying to reach. Past attendees, past sponsors, prospective attendees and sponsors, committee members, both new and old, local celebrities and or athletes. All will be interested in participating for different reasons, so think through what would motivate them to participate and focus your communications accordingly. Event promotions is more than sending out a press release, although that's very important, and Kelly's going to talk to you more about that specifically. Think about how these various audiences you identified would like to receive and share information, and consider a mix of vehicles, all of which we're going to talk about today. Some social, some email communication, word of mouth, one-on-one communication. You'll have great success when a mix is used versus just using one channel to communicate. We know you've got a lot on your plate, so we encourage you to see if others in your office supporting the event and or your committee members with professional experience in marketing and communications can help you with specific areas of promotion. We also encourage you to integrate this into your overall planning timeline and to-do list, if it's not already. We'll be sharing with you later an overarching marketing and communications timeline that you can customize and use. We've been working hard to create new materials to help you and support this very important work. We'll be walking through those with you and highlighting specific pieces we think will be very useful. All of the materials we'll be referencing are available on the Distinguished Events Resources under Gala and Marketing Support. While you're brainstorming and planning, I encourage you to think about what could be and will be newsworthy. The more you plan, the better your chances of getting coverage. And just a reminder, event promotions doesn't end the day before your event. It continues throughout the night of your event and after as well. I mentioned the different audiences you should be identifying and targeting. Many of those audiences are considered influencers within your community, and that's why you've got them on your list. They've got networks that can extend the reach of your event, and they have credibility to influence behaviors and action, like attending your event. You may or may not be thinking about your committee members and sponsors as influencers, but they definitely are and have the potential to really raise up your event. All you've got to do is make the ask at the right time and the right way and provide them with any tools they need to get the right message across. The athletes and celebrities, any local media celebrities you use for emceeing or hosting, they've all got great followings, and they're more likely to share your message with communities and followers if you just make the ask. And as we all know, our MDA families are also able to highlight your event and extend your reach for their audiences. So now I'd like to turn it over to Kelly Park, who's going to share with you the role of media relations and how it can improve your event and the promotions around it. Kelly?
Yeah, thank you, Julia. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you great.
Okay, great, and thank you for that marvelous introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm here to discuss the role of media relations and how it can be used to help you make your event successful. So basically, getting your local media involved with promoting your event provides a great way to increase awareness of your local chapter, your event, your families. It helps you position MDA's brand and mission on a large public platform, and hopefully this can be used to educate your community and your audience about what it is that we do, and perhaps even inspire them to support, for new support or even current supporters to keep engaged with us moving forward for your future events and promoting those as well. So in order to make promotion work to your benefit, one thing to keep in mind is that when you're using media relations to promote the event, it's not just about promoting the event to get guests to come. Hopefully you've already done that and secured all of those guests to be there through your ticket sales and whatever outreach you have through that means, which I'm sure Julia will go into later. But rather, media relations should be looked at as a way to inform your community, yes, about the event, but about our mission. It's important in telling those important stories about our families and our longtime supporters who really make these things happen, and how we support those families within the community, and how we help them, and how others can help our families as well. To that point, again, as Julia mentioned earlier, media relations is not just about sending out one press release before your event saying, hey, this event's happening. While yes, that's a great way to sort of gear up anticipation and let the community know that it's happening, there are just endless opportunities that you can get your media involved with, and I'm going to go over a couple of those right now. Because coverage can happen anytime, whether that's leading up to the event with a few calendar events, like posting those to your community calendars, your press release, any pitches, securing feature stories or interviews with your outlets, whether that be print or online or broadcast media, securing those with a local family, a longtime or prominent sponsor, or even with a headline guest if their management's willing. Obviously, during the event, promotion is super important. This is about inviting your local media to actually come to the event, be part of it, be part of the magic that you guys are creating, and cover it so they can convey that to a larger audience as well. And we'll go into a little bit more about how to make that a success later on. Coverage can also happen after your event, obviously. You can send out a post-event release or a few photos from the event to some media who you wish were there and weren't there to capture it. This is a great way to make sure that you get into some of those headlines, into some of those newscasts without having an actual news station be there, whether that means that they, were busy that night or whatever happens. But like I said, media coverage can happen in so many ways at any point in time, so that's something to keep in mind when going through this. So, to be successful, to have media relations be successful, you need to make this part of your tactics and strategy. It should be built into your overall plan. It shouldn't just be a side note or, oh, we should probably send out that press release today. No, it should be in your planning from beginning to end if you want to make it a successful campaign. And we have just the resources to help you do so. So thank you, Catherine, for switching on that. I want to introduce you guys who obviously are probably familiar with the Distinguished Events Resource Center, but we do have a section on there that is designated for all marketing materials and communications materials to help you do this. The Resource Center, you guys, is really your one-stop shop for all promotional materials and communications, so make sure you're visiting here often and frequently and really utilizing this Resource Center to your benefit. We have tons of materials already up here to help you with this. As of right now, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see, sorry, I'm getting over a cold, so pardon me. You'll see some of the communications, media relations materials we have just a little bit far down. Right there, Catherine. We have a suite already prepared for Muscle Team. And if you see those materials, we have a few templates ready to go for you to start promotions with Muscle Team specifically. But I know this is a call for distinguished events overall, so if Catherine, you'll scroll down just a little bit more. I want to show you guys where you can access, if you have an event right now that doesn't fall into the Muscle Team agenda, there are some generic materials that you can utilize today that you can just fill in the blanks very easily and use that to promote any of your distinguished events coming up. Catherine, just a little bit further down, I think there's a little, right there, the media relations. So we have a general event press release and like pre-release and post-release template. We have a general media tip sheet template, which I'll get into what that is and what that means here in just a second. We also have photo guidelines and some social materials as well coming down the line. That was a really brief overview of my portion that's on the Resource Center. Please keep in mind that we will be creating full suites of materials for other events under the Distinguished Events umbrella, very similar to what we have for Muscle Team currently, so just please be patient on those. They are coming. Like I said, if you do have an event coming up right away or very soon, those general templates should help you cover it. If not, please contact me and we'll see what samples or help that I can offer for your specific event. So we'll go back to the PowerPoint now so I can discuss how easy it is to get started with creating these media opportunities and making these work for you. So again, it's all about incorporating these steps into your overall plan. One thing I want to mention off the bat, don't hesitate to get others in your office involved. If you have an assistant or a fundraising coordinator that's really communication savvy or really into this sort of industry, get them involved. Have them take on the media relations aspect, the social aspect, which Steph will get into in a second, and have them run with it. This should be a fun addition to your overall event planning that really will help you gain exposure and overall awareness and gain goodwill within your community. So first things first, I'm going to start right with you can't reach out to media without a recent, good, updated media list. So make sure you request an updated media list, and in order to do this, it's pretty simple. You just shoot me, Kelly Park, a quick email with your request. What I ask that you do is with your request, you include the market. That includes, so if you're doing an event in eastern Iowa and that covers, you know, Cedar Rapids, you pretty much only have to tell me Cedar Rapids because that's going to cover the area surrounding Cedar Rapids, including like Waterloo, Iowa City. So really think of it in terms of market, major cities that you need a media list for, and we'll go from there. We'll take it from there. I usually include everything with those media lists. I blanket everything just in case, so our offices can use that media list for any events they have coming up. You just have to be able to decipher who's the best contact at each outlet for that specific event. And in the communications guide, the Distinguished Events Communications Guide that Julia will cover a little bit more in depth, there is an entire section to help you go through this and decipher who's the best at each outlet to get into contact with. So after media list requesting, again, use the tools on the Resource Center. These are ready-made press materials and they're social materials eventually as well. They're all there ready for you. All you have to do is fill in the blanks. It can't be much easier than that. And I mean, all the heavy lifting is pretty much done for you. So just really take advantage of those materials again on the Resource Center. Recruiting local media personalities. This can be radio, print, TV, the whole spectrum. You want to ask, these sort of personalities have a really large platform in order to help you spread the word, gain interest, and just, you know, they just have a really great platform to be able to reach your community. So asking them to be part of your event right from the beginning, whether that be hosting, emceeing, posing for photo ops, whatever may have you, you know, you can get creative with that. It's just really important if you already have a relationship with these personalities, or maybe want to build a relationship, this is a great way to get in the door with them by asking them to be part of it and have a really big hand in it. So they can help you do a lot of your heavy lifting with promotion, because they do typically have large social platforms and a voice to speak with. Next bullet I will cover is photography. One thing you can do to get started right away on your event is hiring a professional photographer, or asking a photographer you know who takes really great high quality photos to maybe volunteer for the position. The importance of having a great photographer is that these photos can go so much further than just posting them on your social websites or your event website. These can be potentially used in larger campaigns. Maybe they catch the national eye and we want to use them to really beef up our distinguished events promotion later on. So the importance of a great photographer is high. So we also, if you notice on the Resource Center, under those general materials, we have a photography guide, a guide that can help you and that you can provide your photographer to help get the best shots and what we're looking for in terms of those shots. Those are super important and it's really easy to reference. So after photography is out of the way, and granted guys, I am going through this really fast. There's so much more I could say, so if you have any questions, just let me know. Another way to get started with the promotion is to get your morning shows and morning and afternoon shows involved. It doesn't just have to be a segment on the 5 o'clock news because they were at your event. This can be leading up to your event. You can get your ambassadors or any of your major partners, anyone really involved. You can secure a segment that morning, the morning of your event, or if you have a morning event, it can be the day before, to get them talking about it, to get the public involved and get them aware of what's going on, and just to speak on a more personal note. Those are what those morning talk shows, afternoon talk shows can be used for. Those are a great way to get publicity in a unique way. Night of event responsibilities. Again, this is probably one of the primary ways to get media to cover your event, is to actually get them at the event. So after you've sent your invites and your information to those media outlets, it's a good idea to appoint someone in your office or a trusted volunteer or committee member to really take the lead that night, because a lot of you will be running around doing all kinds of other things and worrying about all kinds of other things. It's really important that someone is focused on the media who will be there. That means being the liaison to those media members, having a sign-up sheet for when they get there so you know who came, being prepared with that media tip sheet that I showed you on the Resource Center. Having that filled out and ready to go and ready to pass out to those media members that are there is a great way for them to just have a reference of what the night's about, who's important, who they need to interview, how to spell their names. You know, that's a really super important thing too. This is a document that should be at your event. You should have enough printed out so you can give it to media members or anyone else there who would need to use it. And this way they can take it home and use it beyond just the event to make sure they have all those accurate information. So night of responsibilities, again, like I said, someone needs to be on point to help you just be a liaison to those media members and make sure that they're getting those interviews that they are there to get. Like, give them access to everything you can. Reporters love that. Being able to, you know, kind of have the VIP exclusive for their coverage. Just, you definitely want someone there to kind of show them around and make sure they're getting everything that they need. After your event, or just, what do you do in terms of tracking your event? How do you know if your media outreach has been a success, if you don't already know that a certain station is running your story? Well, the best way I can think of to do that is to set up Google alerts for your event. This is pretty easy to do. Through google.com, you just type in your keyword and go to the News tab, and it will ask you if you want to set up a Google alert for this key term. And of course, that would be your event name. It would be maybe any major celebrities or local celebrities that are coming to your event. That's a great way to keep track of them and what's going on with them in the news. Definitely set up Google alerts to keep track of the chatter out there about your event. That's a great way to monitor all of that. The last point I'm going to make, and it's going to be pretty brief because I know Julia will want to get into a little bit more of the communications guide, but it's really important that you use this guide as a planning tool from beginning to end. It should be your friend. It should be part of your, you know, just everyday agenda. You make notes in it. You kind of make your own timelines, all of that kind of stuff, just using it as a planner for yourself, quite frankly. So you can keep your timeline and get a complete breakdown of what you want to do. So like I said, in wrapping up this, there are endless PR and media relations opportunities with these kinds of local events. You just have to get creative and run with it and have fun. It should be a fun part of your promotional strategy. So with that, I'm going to kick it to Stephanie Hillwack, Social Media Manager for MDA. Steph?
Wonderful. Thank you, Kelly. Before I get started, I want to just take a minute to note that as we're going through this presentation, I'm struck by sort of the holistic approach that we are asking you to take to event promotion. You know, although I am a social media manager and this is my area of expertise, I don't think that social media is more important than any of the other things that we're talking about today. And so I think it's important to contextualize this and understand that, you know, these are all things that taken together will set you up for greater success. And so with that said, you know, thank you very much. With that said, social media can help you on a number of levels. It should not be your only way that you are inviting people to your event. Facebook algorithms are changing constantly, and if I understood them better, I'd be a very wealthy person, but you don't want to over-rely on simply your Facebook or your Twitter audiences, especially on Facebook. Only about 10% of your audience will ever even be served your content. And so when you rely too much on social for this, you're limiting your resource pool to, you know, 10% of your overall followers, and then more than that, you're limiting it to those people who are following you on Facebook in the first place. So it just goes to say that social is an important part of a communication strategy, but it shouldn't be over-relied on. When do we want to begin promoting on social media? I think social media could be used in two ways. One is to sort of tease the event a number of months out, say 4 months out, the same way you might send a save the date to a wedding about that time, and then really kick it into high gear 8 weeks or so before the event itself. You know, it's a fine line between over-posting and over-promoting on social media and posting just enough so that it breaks through. People need to see mention of an event or a cause a number of times before they even think about taking action. So another thing to note about social media is it's not great at immediate conversions, right? So just because you invite someone to your gala on Facebook does not necessarily mean that they will come or even sign up for emails or even, you know, like the page on Facebook. It's about sort of setting expectations about how you can bring people into your quote-unquote MDA family. So how can we be successful on social media? The first thing is that we want to take advantage of our online existing communities. And so what that means is that you do not want to create specific or individual pages for your events. Building an audience for a Facebook page is a painstaking and long process. And starting an event, starting a page for an event means that you have to start all the way over with getting people to like your page in order for them to see your updates. It is okay to create an event on Facebook, but keep in mind that when you do so, you may need to add additional folks in your office and perhaps some of the gala team members or committee members to be hosts to their event, because you'll be able to invite your friends and their friends. And so it's important to think about who has the best social networks as well. So if your social media community is very robust right now, you have a great opportunity to, you know, continue conversations with your existing followers. If your social media presence is less robust and you don't have an event coming up for the next couple months, you can take this time to sort of think about how to create more content, how to invite more people to like the page, et cetera, so that when you do have messages to send, it reaches a larger audience. We recommend that you create a social media calendar. I think this probably sounds more intimidating than it needs to be. All it is we understand that you are very busy, and pre-posting or creating in advance social messages that can be scheduled out through Facebook or a tool like Hootsuite can really be beneficial to everyone, especially in the days and weeks leading up to an event when you're very busy. I just spent most of the morning, you know, scheduling posts on Facebook through the end of this month. So it's something that helps streamline the process. A social media calendar might contain entries for 2 or 3 or 4 posts a week relating to the gala. It could also relate to MDA, the cause. Finding material on MDA.org and surfacing that for your social audiences is a great way to continue the conversation, right? So if it's a video that we have on our site, and if you can position that in the context of something that would be interesting to an event attendee, that's great. I mentioned that you should engage MDA staff and your gala committee members in promotions because we're thinking about networks here, right? Our message is going to only go so far if we're only reaching out to the people who have opted to like our page. But if we get staff members and committee members to lend us, so to speak, their networks, we can get it to go a lot further. Using an event hashtag is a great way to help with not only brand awareness, but also analytics and measurement at the end. So that's something to consider. Using a unique hashtag is also great for day of communications on social media during the event. When you're taking photos or you're posting videos or even posting status updates, it's great to tag people. Now keep in mind that if you are a page, you cannot tag individuals generally in statuses, but you can tag other companies or pages. So tagging is a great way to shout out to your sponsors, other entities that are making your event possible. And social media is a really great tool to say thank you to folks. So in the same way that you might tag your sponsors in a post leading up to the event, after the event, when you have great news to share about how much you raised, how successful it was, again, tagging those folks and saying thank you for being a part of this is a great way to reinforce and strengthen your relationship. So that's sort of Social Media 101. For those of you who are more comfortable with social media and have and feel comfortable doing a bit more, there are, of course, more things you can do. You can help, you can use volunteers to help manage your social media presence, both before, during, and after the event. However, I will say that you need to be very careful and thoughtful about who you make a page administrator for your page, because they have enormous power to post things. Even accidentally, posting something that they meant to post to their own page goes up on that page, and then you've got a small crisis. So I think the shorthand is only choose people who you would feel comfortable watching your children for you. Those are the people that you can make Facebook admins generally. If you feel they're trustworthy enough to watch your kids, then they're trustworthy enough to be an admin on your page. Using a social media monitoring tool like Hootsuite allows you to listen to what is happening around your event. So setting up a stream where your hashtag is monitored is great. It's also an opportunity for you to listen to what some of those celebrities that Kelly was talking about are talking about. If the local TV anchor is really effective and active on Twitter, you might want to start a conversation with that person. That's a great way to make an introduction. Follow them, retweet them. Using social media monitoring tools really helps you listen to the conversation. You don't want to be that person that just barges in the room and says, hey, come to my gala. You want to join the conversation more elegantly. You can display tweets in real time on screens or monitors at the event. And you can encourage attendees to share photos on Instagram or using a hashtag, and that could be displayed on monitors. You can think about creating content that highlights your influential guests. So if indeed you do have the local news anchor attending your event or hosting your event, take a few minutes, a few weeks before the event to ask them 3 questions. Why do you want to support MDA? What is your personal connection to MDA? And what do you wish people knew about MDA or something like that? And that could be a great social media post, something on Facebook. Now keep in mind that you're not going to get out to a huge audience with that. So that might also be great content for email or any kind of follow-up that you're doing other ways. We don't want to think about just creating content for social media. We want to think about content that can be repurposed in a number of different ways. Photos. Everyone likes photos, and everyone likes photos, especially of themselves. So taking those photos that Kelly mentioned, having that photographer there, getting people to snap photos with their iPhones, giving them the hashtag, encouraging people to share. I believe in the resource guide we now have a little business card that you can give to folks whose picture you take to encourage them to see the photos from the event on the Facebook page. So it's another way of reinforcing the idea of MDA being the community and the place to go for this. If you get great engagement, if there are 100 tweets sent during your event or 25 photos posted at your gala, that's great success that you might want to share with your sponsors, especially if you're asking them to sponsor a specific thing. Maybe you recommend them sponsoring a photo booth next year, right? Because you know that that image is going to go really far. You can share with them those metrics. So before we move on to the next module, there was a question. Are we waiting till the end to take them?
I think go ahead and take it now.
Okay. I saw it pop up, and then chat.
Yep.
Okay. So the question was from Regina, And she asked, can you share an example of social media monitoring tools? So Hootsuite.com is a great monitoring tool. It's free to use in the most basic form. And what it allows you to do is to set up, they call them streams, but think of them as buckets or lanes, however you want to think of it, that allow you to enter keywords or key phrases so that it automatically searches Twitter for you to pull that up. As we know, Twitter is, millions and millions of people shouting at no one in particular. To make sense of the chaos, monitoring the conversation based on keywords that would be relevant to your event is a great way to sort of filter the noise. The name is Hootsuite.com, HOOTSUITE.com.
Just to tell their story.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Right. Sorry.
Side note. Sidebar.
At the end of the day, too, using a tool like Storify.com, STORIFY.com, allows you to pull all of the social media mentions that you generated during an event or even leading up to the event, and could be a very useful tool for sharing with your sponsors or even your committee chairs or maybe your next host. Look at all this. Look at all the dozens of people or the hundreds of people that we had tweeting about this or sharing about it. Showing that people are invested via their social networks is very powerful, because when you post on a social network, you're posting something very personal about yourself. You're identifying yourself as an adherent to a cause. You're identifying yourself as a participant. And so having folks like that, having a tool like Storify pull all that content together not only helps you create a narrative of the event, but demonstrates the reach of your message. So all good things. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Julia, but before I do, I think that our contact information will be at the end of the session, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, or even give quick run-throughs of the various platforms that we talked about today. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kelly and Stephanie. So now we're going to jump into email communications. We're working toward a Convio option for you all. It's planned for 2016, and when we have that, Outlook will be used when you're writing to one person or a few people, like your committee members, and then you'll be able to use Convio for everything else. But until then, I encourage you to segment out your emails as much as possible, and segmenting out your emails by your specific stakeholders is going to help you get the right message to the right person and motivate them to take action. So just kind of wanted to say that up front. Finding the right number of times for email promotion is really important. And just like Stephanie mentioned and Kelly mentioned about starting early, it's no different for email communications. Planning ahead of time and communicating with them roughly 2 to 4 months out allows them to plan accordingly. And every message that you send via email should focus on 2 things: one message and one call to action. And your message, it's really important that you get to the point as soon as possible. You've got one sentence to grab their attention and get them to keep reading, so I encourage you to use it wisely. Questions are often a great way to kind of grab their attention and keep them interested. Make sure that the benefit to the event is clear and presented right before your call to action. Don't rely on readers to know exactly what to do. Make sure they have really clear direction, and if you have an event website or you have an email address that you want them to use to RSVP or follow up, make sure that that's really clear and easy for them to complete the action. It's also important to be mindful of over-promotion. We all know what it's like to get tons and tons of emails about one thing, and you just lose interest really quickly. So I would encourage you all to send no more than 12 to 15 emails to a general audience about your event. It's not an exact science, and you all know what messages different audiences need to receive. So I just encourage you all to plan accordingly, and think about how many emails they need and how many emails they would want, and try to spread out those specific messages and emails over the course of the months leading up to your event. It's important to make sure that you follow up after the event to set yourself apart from any competitors, and make sure that they're fresh in their minds. So, I would even encourage you to try to write your email follow-ups to specific individuals that played a really big role in the success of your event before the event actually happens. So when you go back to your office, you've got draft emails ready to go, and you can just modify it a little bit based on how your event went, or maybe some conversations that you had with them, and then send them immediately. Another tip, make sure that the follow-up email comes directly from the staff member who had the most interaction with the individual that you're thanking or following up with. I think that's common sense, but just a great reminder for us all when we're busy and just so thankful that an event's over. You just want to check it off your list, but building that relationship is so key to the success of more interactions with them and the success of future events. As we've mentioned, customization is key, personalization is key, and it's no different in emails. Think about separate emails for committee members, volunteers, general attendees, or guests of sponsors. Use their name in an email. Fun fact, 22% of people are more likely to open your email if they see their name in the email. It's also important to keep in mind 48% of email opens happen on their mobile phone. So make sure your subject line is short, recommended to be 4 to 7 words or about 40 characters so that it fits on the screen of their mobile device. And just make sure your message is mobile friendly, which just means short and concise. Send at the right time. A new study showed that emails sent between 8 p.m. and 12 a.m. have the highest open rates. And I'm not encouraging you all to send all of your emails after hours, but it is good to keep in mind. Lunch is another good time, or right around that kind of lull around 3 p.m. in the day when they need a break from whatever it is that they're working on. And then the Can-Spam Act, I'm sure you all have heard about this before, but it's just a good reminder. Outlook emails in large quantities sent to mass amounts of people without an opt-out option or violations of the Can-Spam Act, which is a federal act. So it's just important for you all to keep that in mind, and that's why limiting our emails and segmenting them out is so important, because then we're making sure that we're not in violation of any of that. Another good reminder as far as the Can-Spam Act goes, having your email signature with your physical address is a plus. It's one of the things they ask us to do within the act. And then this isn't a science either, but they say no more than 10 email addresses in one email is a good kind of practice to keep in mind. Just as we have tools for some of the other areas they've touched for Muscle Team, we do have an email template available for Muscle Team events, and we will continue creating those email templates as we build out additional suites. So we've kind of touched on a lot of different resources for you all, and I wanted to share with you all, if you could hit the next slide, Catherine, the timeline. We've built out a timeline in the communications guide Kelly mentioned that's available on the Resource Center, and it goes step by step from 6 to 12 months out until the day of your event and after your event, and kind of walks you through social, media, collateral, and then just general MarCom needs that we thought would be good for you all to have reminders of, like agendas for committee meetings and making sure you have your event location at a certain time. So We know you also have a business planning tool, and that offers you a calendar. Those are synced, so nothing that you see in this timeline is going to be different than what's there. So hopefully that will be a helpful tool for you guys as you build everything out. Next slide. All right, so we've touched on this, but there are some key things that I really want to make sure that you all are aware of. The photo guide that Kelly mentioned is available on the Resource Center and is a great tool for not only you, but I think the photographers that you work with as well, and any volunteers that are going to be taking pictures for you at events. We do have a complete full Muscle Team Gala suite available, and there's an overview document which I think provides kind of a good snapshot of everything that exists. If it's too overwhelming to kind of look at that full list on the Resource Center, this overview document that's available on the Resource Center kind of highlights not only what all we've created, but kind of guidelines on when you should start working on it, how it's intended to be used, printing information, and then there's a full timeline at the bottom of that document. So hopefully that will help you guys move forward if Muscle Team is an event that you're working on. If not, we're working on Black and Blue Ball next, and so we'll create all of the things we've created for Muscle Team for Black and Blue Ball. Then we're going to create a suite for Passport, and then we're going to update the Toast to Life template. So that's kind of our timeline and plan. We're hoping to have all of those finished, if not by the end of this year, in early 2016. We also have a Distinguished Event Style Guide that's available on the Resource Center, right where Kelly was kind of directing you all. This is a great piece if you all work with a pro bono designer that's creating pieces for you all. It just kind of outlines how they should be using the MDA logo, how they should be using any of our sub-logos, has some editing guidelines and recommendations for you all, and is just a good tool, I think, for you and then any of your volunteers or pro bono hires that you have working on any of your materials. The social media business card is something that Stephanie mentioned, and it's new and something we're really excited about. It can be customized for any of your events, and it's a great template that has a front and a back, with the back having all of our national social media information on it. So I encourage you guys to take advantage of that. And then the general media templates that Kelly mentioned and the Gala Communications Guide. This Gala Communications Guide, we're hoping, is a one-stop shop for you all. It covers everything we've talked about today and then so much more. It's 30 pages just full of hopefully really great content to help guide you guys and make your events as successful as possible. So it touches on media relations, multimedia, photos, videos, social media, email communications. It's got guidelines for any of your mission support asks, and then a list of all of the resources that are available, direct links from there to the Resource Center. So I think those are the highlights. I would just like to open it up if you have any additional questions, and we encourage you to put them into the chat window now. We've got about 12 minutes to take those. But I also encourage you, if at any point during your Distinguished Events planning process you have questions about any of the things that we've talked about, or maybe something totally different, Stephanie, Kelly, and I are always available and happy to take those at any time. So please use us as a resource. We're here to help you guys and your events. So Catherine, are there any additional questions at this time?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure, and we wish you the best of luck promoting your events.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Great to be with you.